I'd like to welcome everybody to the Gloucester School Committee meeting and remind everybody that the mission of the Gloucester Public Schools is for all our students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. Good now. Public is welcome to attend meetings in person or alternatively through the Zoom link provided on the agenda. Meeting notice will reflect if the meeting is via Zoom only. As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allow, the school committee may continue to hold meetings remotely. Please note, the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. Or if the chair stumbles upon his words. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communication to be recognized to speak. To start out, I'd like to everyone to please stand and bring around salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, why don't we quickly, but can we go around the room and just introduce ourselves? Sure, here.
Tony Marshall, Finance Director.
Gary's Krish, CFO.
John Prell, incoming principal.
And I'm Mr. Superintendent.
Mike Jarvis, Director of Special Education. Jeremy McKean, School Committee.
Melissa Texera.
Bill Melvin, School Committee.
Keith Minio, School Committee.
Stephanie DeLisi, Recording Secretary.
Okay, we're going to start out with oral communications. Just a reminder, this is 3 minutes for oral communications at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. My associate, Mr. McKean, will tap the ringer, and at 3, you'll be asked to cease with your comments. So 3 minutes for comments.
Just a reminder, Bill, about if they have comments on the budget, that they should wait for public hearing on second.
Any comments concerning the budget should and will be reserved for public hearing. So that'll be coming up later on. So for now, any public comments?
No one online.
No one online. Anybody in the audience? Public comment? Okay. No comments from the chair tonight. Any recognitions?
The DHS chorus did an amazing job last night at Helen Lou, and the concert band and jazz band was playing tonight. So I'm doubly proud. One kid each, but so they were amazing anyway. And hats off again to Cole Lundquist and Jamie Klopkowski for just doing an amazing job with the kids.
And a great venue to
One day, like the best venue. Yeah,
doesn't get any better than that.
can't beat the view of the sound.
Anybody else? Just a quick shout out to the spring sports teams. They've had ones that have had some success this year, and baseball and softball teams have been terrific. And all the sports, I've had an opportunity to watch a bunch of them, and really representing Gloucester Public Schools well in the way they conduct themselves, and coaches, and really proud of them. More than enough yet. Okay, GHS Student Advisory Council. I do not believe that this last time was our last one. We don't have that. Next up is the consent agenda. Quick look, and then a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we've taken care of that. Deliberations on education issues and the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Melvin. And we just, here for a moment. Down to 50 action. We got the big news here tonight. Excellent. So as we say, that also school, everybody belongs. Every student, everybody else. Everybody matters, everybody belongs, and every student learns. So a few updates tonight. So first of all, we're introducing John Farella, who's our principal, our new, my appointment as a GHS principal. We'll be doing that in just a moment. A partnership update from our most important partner, the Gloucester Education Foundation, and then I'll provide updates from our schools. So just in terms of a few things on the principal search, you'll see on this. Second,
Yes.
You'll see that yellow line there, the May 14th, we're going to announce the pending contract negotiation. And so we'll be doing that tonight. Want to first thank the search committee. You see it's a great group of GHS staff, administrators, district staff, and also GHS community members and GHS students. I'm sorry, I'm missing a student there. Esme Saruf is also one of our search students on our search committee. So 3 students on the search committee, and Jefferson, Bianca, and Esme did a fantastic job. I mean, they were there all the time. They were asking good questions, listening closely, pushing us, and just were tremendous additions to the team. We'll hear Jeff a little bit later tonight, because he works closely with Gloucester Education as well. I just appreciate this is the first team search committee. They did the initial round of resume screen and identifying which candidates to be interviewed. And then this is the finalist interview committee. So you see we carried some folks over from the initial interview committee, including Jefferson, DeCarmo, and then also some teachers. We've been added other teachers from the high school, also other administrators from the high school, Mike Titus, the principal from the middle school. This is when I joined the group as well. And just again, very powerful, very thoughtful, and a group of folks and a great team to work with. And then both teams did a fantastic job. It was a thorough process. We helped them understand about bias in hiring and reviewed and reflected upon that. They came up with questions on both different rounds, and they had great and thoughtful deliberations about both rounds as well. In addition, John Farella came on Monday to the high school and had a long day. We wore him out since you're covered now though, and had a student tour. Also met with students, met with staff here in the library, and then met families, and also had an interview as well. So really appreciate Allison, Assistant Principal Allison Alls for sort of putting that day together. It was a big help. But the big news is let me stop sharing this, is that I'm here tonight to introduce and announce the appointment of Dr. John Farella as the next principal of Gloucester High School. We still work through negotiations and transition, all sort of stuff. So some work to do still between the two of us, but just really pleased that I'm able to announce John's hiring. So I want to just say a few things. So Dr. Farella is a very experienced educational leader. He comes to Gloucester after serving as principal at Revere High School and Medford High School. He's also worked as an assistant principal, the middle and high school level, and at the high school. Dr. Farella has been the principal of Urban High School for 9 years and urban public education for nearly 30 years. John's school leadership is characterized by his ability to navigate complex situations, communicate effectively, and implement innovative programs. Such as the integration of vocational and technical education with comprehensive high school in Medford, and also the development of numerous community service initiatives. Throughout his career, Dr. Farella has demonstrated exemplary leadership, collaboration, and a strong commitment to the growth and well-being of students and staff. People who work with John say he's a warm leader who easily connects with students and staff. We certainly saw that during the hiring process. He's known for bringing people together and helping staff work as a team. Dr. Farella has also shown dedication to addressing special education needs, English language learners, and LGBTQ students. He's proactive in creating inclusive and supportive environments. He's known for strong relationships within the school community and beyond. Our interview teams were impressed with Dr. Farell's easy communication style, his breadth of experience, and his focus on engaging students and learning that deeply. Again and again, John stressed that having students learn in ways that are deeply engaged with most people, engaged in material, this to them, to their role outside of school, they will learn most effectively. Dr. Perella has also been successful in establishing partnerships with external organizations, hospitals, and universities, providing additional support and opportunities to both students and staff. And John, our high school and the Gloucester community are getting an experienced high school leader, an advocate for students and staff, and an outstanding person. Please welcome Dr. John Perella, the next principal of Gloucester High School.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. It's a real privilege. Yeah, there you go. Good evening, everyone. It's a real privilege and honor to be here tonight in front of all of you. And speaking of the application process, we thoroughly inspired. When you here, there's everything we know about the team and things. I would say that the most challenging part of that interview was the questions. They really took me well, and I was impressed with their critical thinking and desire, for change and to be heard in the process. I'm extremely excited to be part of this community, and I hope the next days, weeks, months, years, all of you, and especially to get to work supporting our youth, to ensure that they have a safe, accommodating, healthy, and positive school experience. Thank you very much.
Let the committee ask some gentle questions. John's new here, okay? And no, please ask him about experience or anything else.
I'll ask.
Sure.
Your experience outside of school. So I know you've taken a couple positions not in the school. So that experience out of school and what that would bring. Jesus.
Absolutely. So, in 2022, I stepped down from the position of principal. Was looking for other educational opportunities, and I was approached by the then Mayor Rivera, Rodrigo, and he asked if I could help him find ways to connect the municipal services in the community, Parks and Rec, the library, the history museum, with the schools. And he was operating under this concept that had been championed at Harvard University, that the mayors of each city would take a larger role in supporting the use of the community with partnership with the schools. All too often, these systems work in silos. You cannot even communicate among collaborative. So it was a real eye-opening experience and broadened my view of what schools can do, and really the potential for partnerships that in every community. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, and look forward to working with you and people on the committee here, and got amazing leadership. So I'm interested in you as a teacher before you became a principal. Maybe talk a little bit about that and show the experience you're going to bring to us.
Well, the teachers are the artists of the district. That's where the action happens. That's where the beauty and the magic happens. It's in the classroom. And I believe that it's not just words. And I think one of the most important roles of the principal is to ensure that these teachers are supported in every way possible. As a teacher, I miss it and I love it. I still teach. I teach college courses at Tufts University, 2 courses presently, because of my real passion for interacting with kids in a way that you can't do as a principal. So I value what teachers experience. I also understand that when I was teaching, it's very different than what teachers are experiencing now. Like we have to continually learn and support teachers in innovative ways. So I hope to be in many classrooms. I always envisioned a scenario where even administrators could teach a class or two, and I know that's an interesting concept down the line, but it's really integral to who I am as an individual, and I believe that teaching is the most noble profession there is. Thank you. You're welcome.
I agree.
Right. Oh, sorry. Wow.
So I'm sorry I was late. I'm Dorothy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome. I just heard the intro, although what do you see as the similarities and differences between Gloucester and the leader? What do you think is what you learned in the leader do you feel really popular?
Well, I think right off the bat, I think Revere and Gloucester, all New England coastal towns have a unique identity. I expressed it before, is when you have your back against the ocean, it really changes the way you view things. I think that, and I'm sure that resonates with people in Toronto. As far as the districts themselves go, I think that they are experiencing similar issues. I think Rivera may have a stronger or a higher level of need in those areas, such as a growing ill population. Obviously concerns with socioeconomic conditions of the city and also the country, and really sort of dealing with a diverse population that is looking for harmony and trying to find where they connect and where they fit in. So when I applied for this job, this is the only principal job I applied for because of not only those comparisons, but also because I saw it at Gloucester. Many of the things that I love about there, especially the community, the way that the community is protective of themselves, and sort of the amount of respect and pride that comes with that coastal community town. So I'm really excited about it, like I said, and I think that, I hope that the experiences I've had in Medford and Revere will easily support what's happening in Gloucester.
I'm sure that you saw during the walkthrough, Dr. Perella, that we have a really strong boat program here at Gloucester High. And my assumption is that Medford also, my knowledge tells me that Medford also has one.
Yes.
We're bringing on a new program this year. I mean, what kind of, not what kind of value, but what do you see as the advantages of having that type of program in a public?
Tremendously. It's unfortunate that every community doesn't have vocational technical education programs. I think it's pretty clear now that students all don't have to go to college, or all shouldn't go to college, that there are lots of pathways to success and happiness in life. In Medford, I was able to work with the director at the time, was Dr. Heidi Riccio, who is now at Essex Tech.
I was just gonna ask you to use that.
Oh, I know,
I
well,
know she had a Medford
she's a
connection.
brilliant administrator, and together we work to find ways to connect the two schools so that students in the vocational tech program could take advantage of the advanced placement coursework that we offer at the academic building, and vice versa. Students on the academic side could take on more vocational technical opportunities. And we also worked really hard to recoup lost funds. A lot of students at the time were going to Lexington, and over a 3-year period, we were able to bring back $1 million because of the offerings that we provided. Again, that was in collaboration, obviously, by myself, but in the team, we were able to really identify that the community valued this and found ways to sort of support it and emphasize all the great qualities that.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to working.
And on the tour, it was really exciting to see the vocational wing and some of the things that are happening over there. Exciting.
Did you get an introduction to the concept of the nursing program, the medical health program?
I had heard that this is a new program that's coming online this year, which is awesome. I think that's a field that we identified in Medford as well, and we put in place. I would say part of our 2014 maybe. We installed that program as well. We identifying it as high value and high need in our community. So I think you guys are on the right path.
So that was developed.
Yes, we didn't have it prior to Dr. Riccio and I, so I would give full credit to Dr. Riccio on that. She was able to identify and target that as a program.
So yeah, I imagine you could utilize some contacts to get some ideas from that aspect you have here.
Oh, I'll be calling Dr. Riccio if she gets this search my calls.
Yeah, I did a cursory Google search on you. Did you have some experience at DESE?
I did not.
Oh, okay, maybe it was
No.
maybe it was somebody else. Yeah, I think my other question was going to be what are you excited about coming to the Gloucester High School? What are your goals and hopes for what you can accomplish?
Wow, there's a lot of things I'm excited for.
Yeah.
First and foremost, getting to know the students. That's really where I get my most inspiring moments and excitement and pleasure, just getting to know people and getting to know their hopes and goals and aspirations, and helping find ways to make them come to fruition. Other than that, obviously, Gloucester is such a beautiful community. I intend on, and I'll share and present this to the school committee at some point, an entry plan that will show sort of a 6-month concept of getting to know the community, getting to know the families, getting the students and the teachers to truly understand the needs and the hopes again. I don't come into this position with a determined vision of this is what's going to happen, this is what I want to put in place. What I hope to do is to work in conjunction with the leadership team school committee and of course, the community itself to help support the great things that have happened here and then to bring the district further on.
And, just another comment, you say you still have a lot of passion, it seems like, and actually teaching children. So, I'm inspired by that, like, idea, Principal Cook will be going to
Right.
teaching as well. I'm sure you met him. And, so he's certainly has passion for that, but I wondered, maybe you would consider like doing some seminars, not maybe taking a whole, course load, but maybe, doing some seminar work.
Absolutely.
For,
One of the things I've done in Medford and in Revere is really think of myself as an instructional leader to the staff as well. And that includes book reads, bringing in other professors and authors, so they have critical discussions about important relevant topics. So I like to think that it's sort of inherent in my style to continue to teach. Just it's a different student body.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. Yep.
Very impressed.
Thanks so much.
We don't usually speak for the entire body, but I think in this case we can and say we're really excited about you being here and looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna have John stick around to hear Gloucester Face Foundation students and MAC will present. This is such an important part of it. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. Just five of us will, and you pick a presenter, right?
There's more chairs over there. You can put them on.
Yeah, we can put a couple more things up here, yeah.
So next August, as we're transitioning.
That's okay.
So set up for the Gloucester Education Foundation. One of our most important part is to be there. About all the fantastic work that they've been doing to support our teachers, our students, our schools. I think also now, but not these comes with us. Pause here.
I am logged in.
Well, we walked into the.
I'm logged into the public link.
Oh, okay.
Can you?
Can you just check one thing on tech here, we'll get going? Speakers, here we go, yeah. Bill.
Lauren Sargent. Sergeant, yeah, yep, Olivia Testaverde. Thank you.
Isn't it? Let's go. Oh, you come over here.
God, he's given up.
I you in the room.
Well,
It's not the
Well, here, let me show you. So the audio. Not announced what's the problem. It's some coding.
Yeah. Well.
We are ready to go.
We are ready to go, okay. Why don't we, before we get started, why don't the students, if you would, just go down the line and introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Jefferson Carmody, I'm a junior, so.
Olivia Tester, I'm a senior. I'm Lauren Sargent, I'm a senior.
I'm Emily Siegel. I'm the executive director at the Gloucester Education Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
So Ben, I've been muted panelist. Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to, yes, if not, I
Give
can't.
that a try. Folks see that? Okay, excellent. Okay, so first of all, I want to acknowledge I don't usually just walk around in a GEF shirt, but I've been setting up the Arts Festival all day at O'Malley. And so this is what you're getting tonight, because you're in full roll up the sleeves mode all day. So thank you again for having us. This is the annual update from GEF about what we've been up to this year. And this is the third time I've been asked to come and bring students, which is always the best way to do it. So I'm going to share a general update, and then these are 4 of our 7 student advisors. And they're going to share a little bit about the student advisory and the work that they've done over the past year and a half. I want to, just before I start, just especially commend Olivia and Lauren, who had their last day at Gloucester High School today. And Olivia was very in front of all of our houses, and they did not have to tonight. I gave them the option of not attending, and my heart goes out. So, far as an update, okay, is that working on everyone's screen?
Yep.
Okay, so most of you are familiar with the mission and vision of GEF, but I will make sure we nail it and repeat it, just especially for those who are new in the room. Our mission is to drive innovation, encourage creativity, expand student opportunities, and empower educators to improve teaching and learning in the Gloucester Public Schools. And our vision is that students in GPS are engaged in and enthusiastic about their education, prepared to reach their fullest potential, dedicated to community engagement. That is the long-standing mission and vision of GEF. And we, since our founding in 2005, have raised over $11 million towards that effort. And that supports dozens of dynamic programs in the Gloucester Public Schools, pre-K through 12. And that money, always ask, like, where does, like, foundations don't typically raise $11 million, even in 2 decades, in a small community like this. And the vast majority of the funds that we've raised come from right here in Gloucester. They're from individuals. We have people that have sent $25 a year for 100 years. People are incredibly committed. And we have people that give $100,000 a year, and any and all in between. We really value organizations, businesses, and foundations. We do quite a bit of grant writing, but most of that money is right here in the community. And signals, our community is super committed to our schools. You all know that. We get to live it every day because we see people volunteering, sending checks, asking what's happening in our schools. So I am not going to read through these, but as the year comes to a close, we have invested over $475,000 in programs this year. That is a jump. That is a jump up. I was looking back over the last couple of years, and it's usually more in the high 3s, low 4s. This is an increase. There's a lot of demand coming from teachers, which is wonderful. Like we love that teachers are hungry for these funds and want to do innovative and interesting new things with their students. 31 programs were funded this year. There's stars on here. A number of these are new, and some of them haven't even implemented yet. They haven't even launched yet, but the funding was secured. So a couple we're really excited about. We are funding the first year next year, but funding came through this year of a partnership between O'Malley and the UMass Marine Station at Hodgkins Cove. The kids are going to be doing some really cool stuff through Science Central at O'Malley with the UMass scientists over there, including prototyping a sustainable lobster bait, which will be tested right out in these waters. Other new things that are new this year, we did right here at GHS, we did a music tech upgrade to pay for, among other things, 2 mobile podcasting studios. So 2 carts with the ability to record podcasts that can go around the building. That's something that Cole Lundquist applied for. Another thing we were really happy to fund this year, which I know lots of you may have heard about, was the workshops with Leeds Coven Theater Company at O'Malley to really bring to life Shakespeare in 8th grade. That's something new that O'Malley teachers are implementing with the Amplify ELA curriculum. to have partners from a professional theater company come in and work with the students directly, made all the difference. I was with one of those teachers today and she's still kind of glowing from it. Some highlights, I'm not gonna go through everything, but I'll just highlight on each of these slides at each elementary, middle, and high school level. It's just some things I think that were really cool this year. In the middle lower photo, you see a student painting a flat. This is at West Parish. In West Parish, the art teacher there, Lauren Grace, applied for a grant in the fall to integrate with their musical. The musical GEF funds at each elementary school in partnership with the PTOs. But Lauren applied for a sizable grant to really like rethink how visual arts are taught in grades 2 through 5 at West Parish, to culminate with in 5th grade, the students doing all of the sets, all the costumes, all the props. And so this is a student that is working on, they did scale and perspective and all kinds of things in art class to do the backdrops to Romeo and Juliet. Sorry, 101 Dalmatians. The 5th graders are not doing Romeo and Juliet. In the middle school, lots of cool stuff happening this year. I will highlight in the lower right-hand corner, you see Kurt Lichtenwald, who is of course a teacher here at Gloucester High School. James Cook and I worked to pair up the engineering lab through John Barry and Kurt Lichtenwald with O'Malley Academy this year for a 3-day-a-week after-school class for O'Malley students to come to our amazing engineering lab, which is heavily utilized during the school day, but was underutilized after school. And actually a student advisor a few years ago had the thought of like, why can't that lab be open after school for kids that can't normally access those classes during the school day? And that this year blossomed into O'Malley kids coming on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons. The kids are taking CAD 1, so they will finish CAD 1, which is a computer-aided design program. They will finish CAD 1 before they get to Gloucester High School. And they'll be placed in CAD 2 when they get here as freshmen. So they are getting a big jump for kids that are ready for that challenge, which has been awesome. And big time credit to both the O'Malley and GHS staff that partnered to make that work. Working things across schools is not simple, and they made it look. And then at the high school, all kinds of good stuff happening this year. And I will highlight again in the center, you can see a student that's making some kind of box. We last year made a grant to buy new equipment for the ceramic studio. Helen Duncan applied, the first time she's ever applied for GEF funding to get new equipment in the ceramic studio. And because new equipment takes time, it wasn't all installed until this year. But they have a new slab roller, a pug mill, which recycles hundreds of pounds of clay every year, so they don't have to waste all the scraps, among other equipment. And Helen, I know Superintendent Lemus came for a visit with us a month or two ago to go see it. And Helen's description of the jump in creativity that students have had, because a lot of the basic equipment is just that much better, is really inspiring to know that like 12 new tabletop wheels could result in dozens of more students being able to learn how to throw pots in ceramics class. So some really cool stuff happening with the arts. Just a summary over the past 3 years, just some stats. We've invested over 1.2 million in over 50 different programs over the last 3 years. Some programs repeat every year, right? Like band and theater, things we fund every year. So that's why we funded 31 programs this year, but only 50 over 3 years because we didn't count the repeats multiple times. We've enlisted hundreds of volunteers, including lots and lots of GHS students, which is a shift for us. We've always had GHS students dabbling between our student advisors and GHS students working at our events, that we have dozens of kids being engaged in ways that they hadn't been earlier. We've done a lot of work on working with local businesses, and in particular on sponsorships for events and programs. So close to $250,000 from mostly Gloucester-based, Cape Ann-based businesses for a lot for vocational, as well as our Power Play and Arts Festival have been 100% funded by sponsors the past 3 years, which is again a shift. GEF used to fundraise for those. Now we're asking sponsors to help people. We've secured almost $500,000 in grants over the past 3 years from 9 foundations. Many of those have given multiple grants in that time period. Attracted 316 new donors. So 316 new donors have come in over the last 3 years. We've retained a lot of our older donors too, which is great. We relaunched our 2 big annual events, Power Play and the Arts Festival. They're attracting about 3,000 people each year. And we welcomed 10 new board members, which is a lot. We had a lot of board turnover by design. We have term limits on our board now we didn't used to. So people like John Saroof and Sarah Grow that helped found GEF when their kids were little, like their kids are in college and beyond now. And so they continue to be great assets to the organization, but we have a lot of fresh energy on our board, including Leslie Friday, who I know is on the principal search. A few new things coming up. So medical assisting was mentioned by Keith Minio. This new program being launched here in the fall. GEF has raised over $400,000 to support that program. We've secured $250,000 to support the instructor for the first 2.5 to 3 years, depending on who's hired, through the JMR Barker Foundation, which is great. It takes the pressure off the district for the first 3 years to fund the lead instructor and not have to worry about cutting one thing to start another, which was a real fear. If we start this new program in a tight budget time, does it mean we're gonna have to cut another program? No, we were very lucky to have secured private funding for that. It can't stay private funding forever. We would like in 3 years for that to get on the operating budget for the district. But that seed funding will help it get off the ground sooner rather than later. We are beginning to explore some much needed improvements to the O'Malley courtyard, to the concrete wasteland in front of O'Malley that is, I know, a sore spot for lots and lots of people in Gloucester. As far as being a space that's welcoming, that is suitable for teaching and learning, as well as for recreation and recess and PE. So we are just at the beginning process of exploring what would it look like to improve that space. As I mentioned, deeper community engagement. So coming out of COVID in 21, 22, really looking to be more visible in the community, and every year adding greater visibility, more volunteers, more people involved. And then just a big milestone, we are celebrating 20 years next school year. And we are having a giant birthday party, which of course is also a fundraiser, at the cruise port in November. So we should all look in the mail for a save the date that's coming first week of June. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to 4 of our student advisors to talk a bit about our student advisory committee. They are part of our second cohort. This was launched back in 2022. This was an idea born out of a GHS alum who was an intern for GEF while she was in college at Wesleyan. And she said, why isn't there a body of students that works with GEF regularly? We said, it's a great one. So credit to Rebecca Dowd for that. And this photo, I'll just say, is our board and student advisors at the Franklin. We all got together last month for a really hefty session of dialogue and idea sharing. So this is from them. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Lauren to share a little bit about kind of what the student advisory is, and then down the line for a bit of information.
Okay, so for a purpose, it's okay, more formally and consistently. And incorporate diverse youth perspectives into GEF's work, and to engage GHS students as ambassadors and advisors. To be selected, we had to get nominated by a teacher. Then we got interviewed by Emily and what was it, the vice?
Three board
Yeah.
members.
Board members, and then we got chosen. I know they wanted like kids that are involved in the community and like school wise, not just like. You have to like, teacher has to see that you would like want to be involved in stuff, they would nominate you. What they look for in selecting someone, a dynamic, diverse group of student leaders who have ideas about how to improve education, are involved in many different courses, activities, teams, clubs, and who are comfortable working with both peers and adults.
Maybe just before you start, say your name again.
Okay, my name's Olivia again. So our goals and projects for cohort 2 included reviewing proposals with GF Programs Committee. We did workshopping new program ideas with the Gloucester Public Schools staff. We had student volunteer recruitment for GEF events, advising GPS staff on the 8th through 9th grade transition. We supported the Power, Play, and Arts Festival planning, facilitating elementary school focus groups, surfacing challenges and GPS, and providing insight, suggestions, and advocacy. And we served as GEF ambassadors. And we do receive a stipend for our hours each semester that we work with GEF.
So for here, so these are just sort of highlights of what the students have been working on over the past year or so. And we're not gonna read these, but I thought for these 4 students, maybe if you could each share kind of a takeaway, something that you learned along the way in the work that you were doing that you're gonna take with you based on what you did. Sure.
Okay, so I worked on the 8th to 9th move up, just because I felt like that was really important, like for us seniors. We were in 7th grade when COVID hit, we didn't really get a move up besides recorded Zoom calls with Miss Carlson about how to access school grades and course selection. So I really wanted to be involved in the move up, and one thing that I liked that we did this year was we completely scrapped what we had been doing for the move up date from the last, I don't know how many years we've been doing it that way. And did it a way that is less confusing. We wouldn't run into large groups of kids, and we're doing like 3 small rotations throughout the school.
And that's this Friday.
Yeah.
And Lauren will be here
Friday.
helping, even though she's done with school.
So my role at GF is I've been working on the student volunteering and like recruiting them and managing them for the past year and a half. This goes for both Power of Play and the Arts Festival. So since I came on and Jefferson actually helped me this year, so he got the ropes before I left. I went around the high school and I got, I'd say 50 to 60 student volunteers that would come into our events, and they worked shifts to help volunteer and make our events run smoothly. And so we were able to bring in all these students and have them see what GEF really is, because I don't think a lot of high school students knew what GEF did beforehand. And so now through volunteering with them and seeing the events that they created, I think it has brought an open mind to the school about what GEF really does. It has opened up a lot. And I think that the best thing about doing this is the opportunities that I've been able to see. If I don't think I would have been able to meet the type of people that I have and really understand what it takes to do a foundation and a nonprofit foundation. It's a lot of work and it's really impressive, but it feels so good. After Power Play, it's a long day, but that's the best feeling in the entire world, seeing everyone come in and have so much fun and just be together as a community.
So I've worked with Ms. Giordano to the development of a program to integrate multilingual students into JHS, so they can know about the other opportunities that this school offer. I've also helped Olivia to recruit volunteers for Power of Play and Arts Festival. One key takeaway from all of this is that collaboration is key to success. So for instance, Power of Play went really smooth this year. We really worked out the shifts and everything.
What I worked on to start is I helped promote the after school engineering club that she previously mentioned with Coach L, to helping the kids able to do the Cat 1 class that I wish I could have done when I was in 8th grade. Then I also then joined the programs committee to give advice into what the board should or should not fund as a student's perspective, because inside the school is seeing what is held. And one takeaway of that is just how to be useful in the setting of the programs committee, like how to be a leader representing the school, because I've never had the opportunity to have my voice heard at such a level as I have on the programs committee.
And Aiden and Hannah, 2 of our seniors who aren't here tonight, have served on the programs committee the past 2 years. That means that they read all the different proposals that come in. They don't have a vote, but they get to advise the board and ask questions. And so having Clay come on as a junior this semester has meant that he's been able to observe. Aiden and Hannah are pros, and he's been able to observe them and really get a feel for it. So there's also some interesting mentoring going on, which is a nice byproduct. I'm gonna actually pass this back down, Jefferson and Clay, this is you guys for just some impacts that the group has had.
So as student advisors for GF, these are some of the stuff that we do. So we provide feedback and input for GF programs.
We identify potential needs that the school might need, such as I just said with the programs committee, giving advice to the board.
We've helped to pilot new approach and initiatives like the 8th grade move up.
We have had new connections with the staff that are hard to reach for the board, but we are able to reach them through being in their classes and having personal connections with them.
And we also talk to teachers and peers about GEF.
And then finally, it helps us build skills around like leadership, communication, and advising for ourselves as well.
Finish off, this is just a quote from James Cook. I'm not gonna read it, but I'll just leave it up for a minute. James has been a really big advocate for the work the student advisors have done. He like always will take a meeting with student advisors and me. He's been really wonderful and supportive. And just, he says that our student advisors are helping making learning more inclusive, more relevant, more engaging at GHS, which is the big, broad goal, but it's very nice to hear from the principal that he sees that happen. And then just to end, this is from Hannah, who's graduating. And if you know Hannah Olson, I've never met a kid who asks better questions. She's been a student advisor since her 9th grade year. So she spent 4 years with us. She asked the hardest questions. If she is on a Zoom with a teacher with a new program idea, I have to warn teachers, you're gonna get very difficult questions for a student. She's very reflective and introspective, and so she got she loves asking questions, and she got to apply that in this real world setting for GEF. And she's been great at it. And her idea that GEF's work is more authentic because it incorporates voices of those it seeks to empower. Again, that is the goal. So we will end there. Just a plug, don't forget to come to the Arts Festival this Saturday, which we have been working on for many, many months, and hope to see you all.
The hours again, Emily?
It's 11 to 3 at O'Malley on Saturday, and it's not gonna rain.
Another clarifying question about the event. So is it at the CAM? Both of the things say it's at
Yep.
O'Malley, so can you explain that?
Yes, so the main venue is O'Malley. There's a free shuttle between O'Malley and Cam Green. There is some additional artwork on display at Cam Green and some additional art activities happening at Cam Green. But the main site is O'Malley.
Cape Ann Museum.
Cape Ann Museum, yeah, the Cape Ann Museum Green. And the shift to O'Malley this year was just because the Sawyer Free Library and the Cape Ann Museum downtown are both closed. So we lost our venues, and Mike Titus has been a fantastic host in having us.
On the slab.
Yes, on the slab, yes. Yeah, part of the
I
inspiration
am so
for,
excited about that.
you'll be hearing more about it,
Yeah.
Keith, yeah.
Like, I remember the only play structure was an anchor.
That might still be true. No, listen, I'm spending a lot of time at O'Malley with the Arts Festival and also sort of beginning to think about this project. And I will say, when I moved to Gloucester, one of the first things I heard was our middle school isn't very attractive. There's this big, concrete slab outside. And so I've always sort of had that impression of it. I will say, there's incredible opportunity with that space. Most urban middle schools, even suburban middle schools, don't have a big space like that. And it's well used. I mean, the kids are out there 5-6 hours a day between PE, recess, arrival, dismissal, O'Malley Academy. So as much as we all malign that space, we are so fortunate to have it. And I think with a bit of a makeover, it could be a really phenomenal centerpiece of the school. So that would be the goal. And we have a long way to go to figure out what it's gonna look like, but excited to pursue that project and appreciate Ben and others support on that.
Yeah, and I'm sure your student advisors will have something to say about it.
Well, they did, and Hannah was like, I don't know if that's a good GF project if it's just landscaping. You guys aren't landscaping people. I said, no, we're not, but we're interested in an outdoor classroom, we're interested in amphitheater for performing arts, interested in teachers having a place to bring students outside. I was at O'Malley all day today. Kids were squatting outside the cafeteria entrance. In the sunshine, happy to be learning outside, but we can do better.
We appreciate that you're taking that on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you to
Okay.
especially.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
So, I just a couple things here. Too many times, all I can say to Emily is thank you. Because I just run out, I don't have the words to capture what GF means to school system. Really what I mean by that is that students, our staff, and their parents. I mean, it's in so many of the most essential pieces: art, music, science, engineering. You know, more recently, career growth tech, huge investment in career growth tech, and it's not just medical assistants, you know, it's like auto and engineering and advanced manufacturing. New this year, ROTC, you know, so really these are, you know, essential components of our school and our school community. But one thing I love is that it's inside of school and outside of school community. There's exploration, engagement, excitement, and all the programs and all the work have, but ultimately they're about impact. An impact in two like really important ways. One on students, as you heard from advisors from Clayton, Jefferson, and Olivia and more, and the impact on them, but also the impact on all ages, first of all. But what's even not more important, but as important, is impact on our families and the community and the businesses who work with our students, and all the things that all the programs and all the opportunities that GF enables our students to make an impact on others' lives. That's through inspiration in music, that's through building things, that's through great questions asked, that's from pushing our teachers. But again and again, literally that's the power of play and the smiles, the laughter. That's the proud parents at a middle school performance or play. And again and again. So just that impact, our students, our staff, but also the smiles and laughter that the work that GF enables for our families and the community is just incredible. There aren't words to thank GF. And also thank the students who are making it better and better. We appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quickly that really, sometimes when you sit on a school committee, a lot of stuff goes on, but to see really highlight, to see kids the students that are doing just tremendous things in our school and our community, it's really impressive to see. And I can't tip my hat high enough to you four and your fellow students for the work that you do in our schools to make it more inclusive, to make it a wonderful place to get educated. So appreciate all that you do, and for the seniors, best of luck moving forward. So.
I'm gonna ask the students something when we say goodbye. Has your experience with the GEF inspired you and where you feel like you're gonna take your adult life, what trajectory or what inspired, has it inspired you to rethink what you're gonna do in your future?
It definitely has. It actually helped me write a scholarship. The Twin Lakes Scholarship was what you want to do with your degree and how can you make Gloucester a better place. And so working through with this nonprofit has made me want to work with nonprofits when I get older and give back to my community because of how just building the community is. Like that was really my biggest thing. My biggest takeaway was the community aspect that I saw through GF. And so I think that I don't know if I ever would have thought to work for a nonprofit or like volunteer or anything like that. But I think after this experience, I definitely have a much more open mind to it.
Awesome.
Well, sorry.
I would say that it definitely did push me like throughout my life, I've always wanted to be like a teacher, but I was like, that's not realistic. Like my mom's like a teacher, like it was realistic, but it was like, I want to do like a bajillion other things like we all do when we're kids. But then like when I got into it, like doing stuff for GF, working with the middle school and the guidance counselors who've been, because of last year, got a class in guidance called peer mentoring. That made me want to become a teacher, like bring it back even more. And then now I'm going to school for early education and special education.
Lauren, we will hire you. Jesus grads, and you got a job.
Yeah, I want to come back here and teach math. I'm getting first degree in early ed, and then I want to go back for second ed.
Get a special education degree too.
I can't imagine GEF without students now.
Yeah.
How involved they are. That's fantastic.
It's great. I mean, to see, we have an excellent board, and to see our board and our student advisors come together. That meeting, I was the photographer. I got to just step back and just sort of watch them. And we had some prompts and some discussion protocols set up, but it was incredible watching, they could have talked
Yeah.
And the brain power between our board and these guys is, it's really tremendous.
Well, thank you very much for being with us tonight, and you're more than welcome to stay, but I don't know. Let you make that decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good meeting.
Bye, sir. Parents are gonna. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, well, they had the boy husband, but also. Are you still at the Oh, no, we can find that. I'm
Like you see all the time. I'd like to get to know you.
So,
Yeah.
then we'll go to the
Public hearing. Okay, we're gonna move on to the public hearing portion of the meeting tonight. I just want to say that Chairperson Clancy can't be with us tonight, and Mayor Verga, who is away at a conference, I believe, for a couple of days, but want to remind those at home that are watching that the full city budget and the department budget reviews at BNF are ongoing and available live on Zoom or in recordings. And the budget is on the city website, and the school committee budget is also on the school committee page as well. So both send their regrets for not being here tonight, but we shall move forward with it.
Question.
Yep.
Before we start the hearing.
Sure.
So the city council budget's out.
Yep.
But the school portion of the budget is not in their budget. Are we gonna combine that, do you know?
I think it is, I mean, here's a
It was just
number.
a quick one, but, so we're not putting our full budget in there, just the highlights
You mean in the actual budget document?
in their budget document.
Yeah,
Which I read, top to bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I don't know exactly of what is, so, you know, what is in terms of the budget document for the city. What are the schools is sort of, you know, absorbed into that and considered one document. I don't know.
I'm just thinking if we're not gonna combine, which I understand if we don't, we should at least put our budget on the city website as well.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know what I mean? So that they're side by side available.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we haven't done it before, but that makes sense, and we'll check. Cody, if you can help us remember to check in about that.
Yep.
And certainly, as folks know, but I'll remind people, is Budget Central on our website has all our presentations, all our budget, all the documents, including tonight's presentations on there. That's easily accessible either in our finance section or just from the homepage. There's some nice graphics of Budget Central. So folks can easily get all the information shared. And also through the city website, see recordings of all the presentations. This is going back, to January. Quite a while. So let me jump in. I'm gonna give some highlights. So just as folks, just as a reminder, the budget I'm presenting tonight is the same as 2 weeks ago. Okay, that's when the committee voted on the public hearing budget. Don't change it from 2 times. So there will be some repetitive this year for folks who've been tuning in every week, but also new folks tune in, which is understandable and obvious. And so we'll make sure they can get up to speed as well. So let me share the presentation here. So, as we say in the Gloucester Public Schools, everybody matters, everybody belongs, and every student learns. So, quick overview, in terms of the underpinnings of the budget. So our schools are doing, and students are doing well. There are tremendous learning and growing opportunities in our classrooms and schools every day. And we know we can do better. We're always striving to do better. And that's our students are striving better. We're striving better for our students, for our staff, for our families. And that's just an ethic that we all need to take on, you know, not rest on any laurels, but also know we can only work on better. We know work is ahead. We understand where we need to invest in our schools. This budget really takes some pretty positive steps in those directions, which I'll talk about more. And we're gonna continue to provide robust opportunities for our wide range of learners. And we're most specifically going to invest in building our support for special education students and our most vulnerable learners. Important city, state, and national context, to put this budget in. So the city of Gloucester, and now this is newest information, is that the city, budget is out. Most of the departments have level funded budgets with no increases in staffing or programs. And the total growth in the city is about $3.9 million. And we are requesting 2.725 million of that. Okay, new growth. And we work with the mayor to be able to access that level of dollars, which is a very significant portion, very large portion of the city's new growth. As folks may or may not know, the region statewide, communities around the Commonwealth, and particularly on the North Shore, are feeling some real tight budgets. Layoffs continue in many districts, and North Shore communities and other communities are having overrides to increase tax levies in order to have level service budgets. And also in order to prevent, or in some cases still have fewer layoffs than they would otherwise. And then nationally, really unclear in terms of the changes at the federal government level for what impacts there may be or are likely to be in some of the most significant federal funds. And those are in the form of grants for Title I, which are for families, supporting families, low income and low wealth families. IDEA, which is special education, and other federal grants. So we don't know yet, but we're preparing and planning for some of that. And being conservative in our approach to those grants. But that'll shape out as the federal budget goes along, the budget process goes along. Just as a reminder, we faced significant cuts a year ago in funding and staffing. We eliminated more than 20 positions. We're going to build a small amount of those back, but we're also needing to put some quite a bit of services and materials, instructional materials, and also our transportation lease back on the operating budget. Those are things that we paid for through grants over the last few years, and so that's taking up a significant portion of our increase this year, but then will be on our operating budget going forward. Our increase in staff and funding will be focused on special education and essential curriculum support, as I said. So the quick budget summary here, getting to some of the numbers, is our total budget proposed budget for FY 26, fiscal year 2026 is just over $54 million. It's focused on strength instruction and student learning and achievement. 85% of the budget is allocated to salaries and benefits. That's a very common percentage in public school districts. And our budget prioritizes efforts to strengthen special education, instruction support and services. That's about better connecting special education and general education, investing in special education teachers. We're providing instruction in the general ed classroom at the elementary level, and building and strengthening our district-wide K-8 special education programs. In terms of the building a budget, we always build our budget based on our plan for ongoing improvement. These are our highest priorities, most important priorities: deepening student belonging and engagement, strengthening instruction, better connecting general ed and special ed. Obviously, priority number 2 is being prioritized in the budget this year. Strengthening social emotional learning, mental health support. We're sustaining many changes and improvements and additions that we've added over the last few years. And then also priority 4 is as an important, is one of the highest priorities in terms of this budget as well. Strengthening special education and improving coordination of services, specialized instruction, and also district programs. So really, again, zeroing in on priorities 2 and 4 in our plan for ongoing improvement. Where we're headed over time, continue to strengthen instruction, student learning and achievement, continue to deepen student belonging, continue to strengthen special education, support vulnerable learners, continue to strengthen the range of programming and opportunities at O'Malley and Gloucester High, and also continue to move annual recurring expenditures from grants and to the operating budget, so we have a sustainable approach to funding these essential programs. The reason I share this sort of longer term view is that for the first time, and maybe forever, at least certainly since I've been here, we are being very clear about a longer term budget planning. So in the budget book, for everyone to see, are the specific positions that we intend to add in the coming years, and what portion of that we're able to add this year. And this shows folks First of all, the upcoming investments in special education will be making on a long-term basis, but also areas of support in terms of tier 2 academic interventions, expanding world language at O'Malley, increasing STEM and coding and engineering at O'Malley, and then also broadening opportunities at the high school as well. So this is a longer term plan. We sort of have to see each year what we're able to add or we're able to include in it. But because it gives a very clear outline to folks, to the community, the school committee and staff, where our priorities are and where we intend to invest in the coming years. That's just a snapshot of the longer document, which is about just over a page actually. So look, turning to FY 2026, I'm going to go into some of the details of the pieces and parts of the budget, particularly the additions and any staffing changes that the budget allows for. So first and foremost, we're building a coordinated system of support in special education. And that is the basis of that is our inclusion program. So we are building on work we've been doing in different places, Beeman and Veterans School and O'Malley and also the high school to strengthen our inclusion program, making sure that students with disabilities are getting appropriate support and specialized instruction in the general ed setting and general ed classrooms. And then when necessary, because of the student's needs, getting related services, additional support outside of class as well. But first and foremost, it's important that we do less of pulling students out of classes, students with disabilities, because one, that is separating them from their peers, and also diminishing their ability to get full instruction in general ed setting, but also full instruction and then additional services as well. On top of that, layered our services. So I mentioned this before. This year we will be investing in specialized reading instruction in K-5 at East Veterans and also West Parish. But these are additional supports and services that some students need on top of the inclusion program: speech therapy, occupational therapy, and behavior support. We're building our behavior support at O'Malley, both with a behavior para, but also through deepening and strengthening our district-wide programs. Our district-wide programs is sort of the top tier of this semi-pyramid. And those programs are for students with our most intense needs in the district. And we really, as we talked about quite a bit, are zeroing in on creating a strong pre-K through 12 system on our district-wide programs. That's for students who have maybe severe autism or language-based disabilities, need life skills. Also autism reflects an inclusion, so it's a less severe presenting of autism, and then language skills, learning center, and then emotional behavior. What we want to make sure is we have a continuum of support and programs from pre-K through 12, and we've been able to identify some gaps, especially at the middle school, and also to some degree at elementary as well. And we're going to start this year to build out those programs so we have a strong support for our students with the most significant disabilities throughout our system. So where we're investing now in terms of the operating budget, so I'm going to go a little more detail here. Strengthening special education, initial steps on the K-8 inclusion program. The details from that folks can see at our meeting from school meeting from 2 weeks ago. But that is really building on co-teaching and connecting general ed and special education teachers in the general ed classroom, provide more significant support and instruction in those classrooms, and building on work, as I said before, that we've been doing in Beeman, the Veterans School did before it merged with East Gloucester, and also to some degree in reading comprehension at West Parish, and also been doing it in a very strong way at Gloucester High School, and also working on improving it at as well. We'll make initial steps on K-8 inclusion and co-teaching next year, and then build from there. And so, as we described 2 weeks ago, 1 or 2 grade levels are doing this at each elementary school for next year. Beeman will have actually 3 grades because they've been doing 2 grades and adding 1 more grade. So, but steps over time. For specialized reading support, so these are students who need specialized reading in specialized instruction in reading. We're adding adding one teacher each at East Veterans and East Veterans and West Parish. And that also takes some of the challenge and caseload off of our special education teachers that are already there. And so they can have more time to support students through co-teaching model, but also additional interventions or related service or product support as well, when necessary. And so we intend to, over time, make sure that we have that same level of specialized reading support with special education teachers at all the elementary schools. Part of our plan. And then initial steps on strengthening Canadian district programs. So continue to expand our elementary emotional behavioral pilot program that has been at Beeman and West Parish this year. Add an emotional behavioral program at O'Malley with 2 teachers. Add a life skills program at O'Malley. And that's responding to student needs. We see students coming up from 5th grade. In all of our programs throughout the district, we have much clearer and well-defined program descriptions and exit criteria for all the programs. And that'll help staff, that'll help families, that'll help our schools really be clear on what the goals are for students and those programs, and making sure we're training and supporting teachers to do that well, but also helping families understand just the level of support and type of support that children are getting. And the last piece is strengthening support and supervision, particularly at West Parish and O'Malley. We are shifting special education program leader positions to administrative positions. Both schools have really high needs for students in special education, particularly high needs in their programs. And having an administrator will provide better support for staff, first of all, students, second of all, and then also families as well. So we think that's makes a stronger support across the school by making those administrative positions, and we're in the process of hiring right now. So what that looks like in terms of the summary of position adjustments, you see on the top here, really 4.6 new positions. That is actually quite a bit in this day and age. That's really important, and those are all focused on special education. And then we have reallocation position. This is a much harder thing to do in any school district or any organization, but we do feel that we need to prioritize the more significant needs that we're experiencing, that students have because of either programs, special education programs, or just because of their profiles, and doing so by shifting paraprofessionals from preschool and from Plum Cove to being West Parish, O'Malley, and East Veterans. We also are through a consolidation position, really sort of reordering a position, I would say, able to, even though Plum Cove is losing some paras to other schools, they'll have a little higher capacity on the special education teachers. So they'll have 3 special education teachers, 3 special education teachers who can devote full time to supporting students, direct student impact. Whereas before they had 3 teachers, but 2 of them split duties with direct services and also program their other duties. So that's about 0.5, half-time equivalent increase in special education teaching capacity at Plum Cove. So those are the changes in staff. We highlight those because, as I mentioned before, that's always one of the bigger aspects of our budget is positions. Another important piece that is we're applying quite a bit of growth in our budget is to essential curriculum and operation resources. These are curriculum materials that were paid for by ESSER, and this is everything from Wit and Wisdom and Math and Focus at elementary school to our new middle school curriculum in English language arts and mathematics, as well as additional Chromebooks, which are an essential tool at this point, grades 3 through 8 through 12. Another piece is moving our transportation lease back on the operating budget a few years ago. And so those are for this year, as we get it back on the operating budget, taking up a significant piece of the increases we have. But those grants have gone away, so we need to do that. We also are very, very creative in so many ways. There's GEF, Brenda Waslick, Amy Cam, Amy Pascarello, And then Amy Donnelly and others are just, and many others. Saskia Nugent in our finance office plays a hugely important role. All those folks play a hugely important role in investing in grants and acquiring grants that are allowing us to do so many different things. And that's Science Center at O'Malley, professional learning in the areas of mental health and social emotional learning. As you heard tonight from GEF, launching an exploratory program, medical assisting. And then also continuing to upgrade our CPT classroom facilities equipment. These are, I name these because these are significant expenditures. They are not on the operating budget. The budget that you're considering tonight, they're not on that, but they really do enhance and add to so many of our really essential programs. So we get to the numbers here. So as we always talk about, there are three primary costs or cost centers that increase our budgets, typically beyond our increases in our what the city in terms of our revenue. In this year, a few positive areas, special education costs have sort of leveled off a little bit for the time being. Or at least I should say we're not seeing the huge increase we have in the past. There are significant upward pressures on wages, both from the contract we've negotiated, there's increases as well. And then the health insurance always increases every year. Typically, all three of these areas are increasing at a rate higher than their revenues increasing, and that a little better balance this year, but still have to make choices because these things continue to increase, and they are almost the whole entire budget. So we're going to get into one of the cost areas that has grown quite significantly, as everyone knows, over the last few years, out of district tuition and transportation. You see the increase we've had every year. In FY22 are leveling off this year. After huge increases over the last 4 years, you can see we're well past double what the budget was in FY22 for tuition placements from 3.3 million to 7.25 million. Our out of district transportation costs have also leveled off as well, and that's good news for us, and that helps us with our budget in very significant ways. In terms of, so those are the costs for out of district tuition and transportation for our highest need students. This is what the operating budget will pay for. This is a reminder of folks, we had different offsets, which are from the state and really from the state, and also through prepaying tuition, which we do every year. And that means that a lower amount of the total cost each year are actually paid for by the operating budget. You'll see that the total budget for transportation, out of district transportation, is $1.5 million here. That's made up of 1.2 for special education transportation costs, $200,000 for homeless and foster transportation costs, and we always allow for contingency in case things don't go according to plan, and we allow for contingency in out of district transportation and tuition. But then we have a circuit breaker offset. This is the revolving fund that's available to us through state funding. And $810,000 of that $1.5 million in costs will be covered by the circuit breaker revolving fund, which means just under half of the $1.5 million will be on the general fund or operating budget for out of district transportation. It's at $740,000. That's in the budget. Even our costs are at $1.5 million. Here you see we expect tuition costs for out of district special education costs to be $7 million. Again, we have really three contingencies in the budget. This is the transportation one I just talked about, and then this one as well. Again, accounting for and anticipating growth we see every year in placements. But then we have three different offsets from that $7.25 million. So just over $1 million in the circuit breaker reimbursement from FY26, which we'll get next year. $1.3 million in circuit breaker offset from the FY25 reimbursement, which we are allowed to carry over and apply to next year. And then, like we do every year, this year about a $1.25 million prepaid tuition. Those are dollars still available to us that we pay now which helps support the operating budget next year. That gets the general fund budget for out of district tuition to $3.7 million although our total costs for FY '26 are $7.25 million. I know the committee's heard this before, but you're welcome to ask questions anytime, just wave, get my attention, I'll stop talking, I promise. These are health insurance costs, again, you've seen this before, but maybe folks in the community haven't. You see, the costs since FY '21, how they increase, so really a $2 million increase total, each year. Total since the cost in FY '21, you can see the percentage costs, where you've been sort of in the neighborhood of $400,000 or so every year. This year higher than before, a $546,000 increase. That's our most significant increase in healthcare costs, and that's reflected in the high 8.13% increase from last year. You can see that's the highest since FY '21. At this point, our healthcare costs for our staff and retirees is 13.4% of the budget. 13.4% of our budget every year goes towards employee health benefits. And I just do want to make sure the community knows and is aware of that. Gloucester Public Schools in the city of Gloucester pays 75 to 85% of the health insurance premium for our employees. It's a very generous benefit, very attractive to folks who want to come work here. We're seeing 70% and below in more districts. In terms of that, again, offsets as well in terms of health insurance. So of the $7.3 million in health insurance costs, 6.9 million of that will be on the operating budget that you're considering tonight. The GPS budget, so here you see the growth year over year since FY '19. You see typically we have sort of about 3% growth each year. It's a little below that. Because of significant increases recently in Student Opportunity Act, it's FY '24, we had a larger increase. That's an increase in state funding. This year, while there's less of an increase in the Student Opportunity Act funding, and that's more sort of now back to where it was 5-6 years ago. Significant increase that's been guaranteed by the mayor. So we're at 5.29%, which is the second highest increase in the last 7 years or so. And so the total increase is 2.725 million, and the total budget is $54.2 million for FY '26. These are just a summary of the changes, or we've gone over these, but this just sort of highlights, sort of just crystallizes them, summarizes them. Special education tuition transportation, so it's the costs have gone up because of our offsets. We'll have $250,000 less in the operating budget. That's a combination of decrease in cost and transportation, and also the use of our offsets. So in terms of the operating budget expenditures, the $250,000 less in those areas, even though the costs are going up. All our salary increase adjustments are $1.5 million. Health insurance, employee benefit increase of $367,000. Transportation lease payments is one of the examples of getting operating costs off of grants and onto the operating budget. So $373,000 increase there. The next line is in terms of maintaining, building our investments in our capacity. The curriculum materials, Chromebooks, other supplies I mentioned earlier. That support instructional materials and renewals for core instruction, and also tier 2 and tier 3. Tier 3 being special education, tier 2 being academic support. Increase of those, putting those on the operating budget for just over $4,000. And that means that we have $240,000 available for new positions. Because of these two, the transportation lease payments and the Chromebooks, the curriculum materials, those two large dollar amounts are coming off of grants. We have less ability to apply to create new positions. But in future years, if we have similar or comparable increases, or even less than we have this year, we should be able to apply more of the increases to new positions in coming years. It will help us in terms of that long-term plan that I laid out to all of you as well. So, and then just a couple more slides here. Again, you've seen before, but these are our sort of basic budget categories: salaries, benefits, special education, transportation services, repairs, maintenance, supplies, materials. You can see how they sort out, either in the pie chart or in the table. Again, showing personal expenses are 85% of our annual budget, annual operating budget. And then special education, transportation services are 10%, and then supplies and materials are 5%. Then this is the public hearing budget, which you brought forward to the public. This is by department. You see FY 25, FY 26, there's a difference in the percentage, either growth or change there. Stop there. And this is the process going forward. You will vote after tonight. You will vote, this is the public hearing, January 14th. 2 weeks from now, you would vote on the final budget to go to the mayor, very submission to the city council, in consideration by the city council. And then once they pass it, it comes back to school committee for final vote on June 24th. So we pause there. Any questions from the committee, and then we can hear from the public.
Quick question on the budget by department. I don't remember having this conversation. We may have already forgot. Professional development has gone up 70% in that budget.
Yes.
Department.
Many of the supplies materials that we're putting going to operating, they're going from grants to operating budget. Or
That's
going
in
to
the
that account.
professional, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Curriculum subscriptions and stuff.
Curriculum subscription, so that's the either consumables or the licenses as well. So that's why you see it's because it's adding on the operating budget. Make sense?
Yes,
Great.
totally.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
If we could go back to the GPS, maybe it was slide 29, GPS budget year by year.
Yeah, second, we need to show it to the public.
It's done.
Uh,
So you were mentioning that,
Is this the one?
yes,
Yes, great.
that you were mentioning that, with the 5.29% increase, second, most, one of the, two
Yeah,
largest
yeah,
in 7 years.
Yeah.
But, coming from this perspective, we were at a budget deficit. I know we had a lot of things coming off of grants going on to the budget and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's in respects to like having a deficit in the budget last year. And then, obviously we're trying to get back to this level.
Yeah, we didn't really have a deficit in the budget last year, because as you see, it's 3.52% increase in operating budget
Yeah.
last year. But a couple of things, just to remind folks, okay, is one, we had to make cuts because of position cuts, okay, lots of them.
Right.
Because of the sort of the cumulative effect of very large increase in special education costs. Okay, particularly at a district costs. And then combine that with additional, we were also losing grants as well at that point. And also, so our costs were going up at a higher rate than our revenue was going up, even though our revenue went up quite high. The other piece that's really important is that we made the budget work last year with one-time dollars. Okay, so while the budget well, the budget increase was high rather, 3.52%. We weren't carrying over that revenue this year. It wasn't there for us to use. So that's why we really require such a large increase from the mayor to sort of fill that one-time money hole. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to sort of get past that one-time money in infusion, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a very significant, and what this should do is going forward, allow us to, we're stabilizing here, okay, we're adding some positions, okay? Allocating some costs as well. And going forward, we should be able to return to a more regular increase every year, okay? But I would say that we want to continue sort of more like last year, 3.5%, 4%, that sort of thing. That will allow us to continue to reach our goals as we've outlined in the long-term budget.
One question for you, Ben, on slide 30, and it might have been Melissa's question, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you said like curriculum materials.
I don't, 30 is,
30.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, curriculum materials, Chromebooks and other supplies. Did I hear you say that we wouldn't have to spend that much moving forward and that we could apply that to potentially new positions in 27 or was that?
Presumably, what you have, that remains in the budget, keep on paying for that, but it's now in the base of the budget. So any growth we have next year won't have to be applied to that. Now, I'm assuming, so I'm making some important assumptions there, that we'll have additional growth.
Yeah.
Okay, which, every year, if you look at this, every year we have some typical growth here, sorry. It's been 2.86% or 2.9%, that sort of thing, okay? So, and so we should get that as well. We typically do. I don't wanna, be too confident here. But those dollars are already in the operating budget, already in the base. You don't need, to apply any increase in your budget FY 27 to those expenditures. So already included.
I just wanna caution, or, we still have structural deficits. And the structural deficit will come from the health insurance being greater than our revenues. So we have to deal with those expenditures that increase more than the revenues. And that could be salaries too, because there's not just the base salary, but there's the step increase.
So how those sort out means that we won't be adding positions in the near future like we were around COVID, okay? Those were on, multi-year significant grants, okay? And those were for the purpose of, remedying the challenges around COVID, okay? But typically, if we get in the neighborhood of 3 to 4% increases, we can do a balance of making sure we are hitting our obligations and also spending in order to increase the positions as well. I don't want to be too confident here or overstate it, but you typically can do some of that each year. And then,
Understood. Thank you very much.
And to me, that's our biggest challenge to the city council this year when we present to them, getting them to commit to the co-teaching model and fund us accordingly to be able to expand on that. That's my worry, but I think that needs to be a very strong message as we present it, that we need their support to follow through and implement the program to capacity to make a difference.
Okay, I think we are ready for public comment. Okay, we're ready for public comment. In the audience.
can you just read the instructions you read in the beginning of the meeting again, because folks are on work then.
Yeah, if you are participating remotely and wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. If you speak, please begin by stating your name and address clearly. If you have a prepared statement, please email it to the school committee secretary, Stephanie DeLisi at sdelisi2@gloucesterschool.com as part of the public record. Also a reminder that you have 3 minutes to speak, and at 2:45, we shall ring the buzzer and ring the bell and move forward from there. So we do have one hand up. It's an iPhone.
I'm actually right here.
Oh.
Yes, we can hit. Do you want to?
Am I supposed to stand?
No, yes, just.
Yes, but we're
Hold on, we're just gonna get the podium for you.
That was a first.
That was-
Work in the audience.
No, when you're here, you.
Yeah, you can speak.
Get your soapbox too if you want. All right, no, it's okay.
No, just.
This is.
Okay,
Um,
name and address, and then.
my name is Brianna Hodgkins. My address is 8 Viking Street, Gloucester, Mass. I have actually more of a question and a statement. So I'm seeing that the out of district transportation costs are decreasing, the raw costs. And I'd like to understand what's driving that.
Sure.
And I don't know if we're allowed to respond back
No,
here. Okay.
we won't have a conversation here, but ask questions and then I can direct them to the committee.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question I have is, there's not a lot of people that support the special education community. I have my son that's in the school just as 6th grade. He has autism. And he is 11 years old and he has only until 12 years old to learn basic skills that most neurotypical children learn. The school is saying that this is a level-based budget but those needs are not being met today. So we're proposing a level-based budget, but it's not a level-based budget. So there are, for example, there's a spectrum, right? There's high autism and then there's lower autism. Lower autism doesn't mean they don't have the same deficits as higher autism. The difference is lower autism kids can learn to be productive citizens in the community. Lower functioning autism people, you're not gonna see, they say in the diagnostic criteria that they can't learn, okay? So these lower functioning kids, we don't have RBTs, we don't have ABAs. When we requested, and I've asked Mike Jarvis for me to pay through my insurance to have these folks in the school, and it was denied, okay? The students' needs are not being met today. And now, because of these out of districts, we're being told we can't send our kids out of district. So what do we do for this huge population of kids that are in our community today that aren't going to be here for the future to get this education? We're missing those people. If you look around in the world, some of the most prominent people in the world are autistic, okay? These kids have an incredible opportunity to provide significant benefit to our community. I work in a highly engineering-centric business. Do you know what the population of autistic people are in engineering? Pretty significant. Do you know that we have a problem in the community with STEM, that we don't have enough people? I'd like you to consider that when you're looking at this proposal. It's not level-based. It's below needs-based budget.
Thank you. Online with a hand up.
Very common, that's what a lot of.
Yeah. So that will conclude the public comment with regards to the FY 2026 proposed budget.
Close up here, right?
Yep, and we can close the public hearing out at this point.
I just want to address a couple of questions here. This is not a level-based budget. We're having a 5.29% increase in the budget, which is very significant. As I said, it's the second highest increase that we've experienced. The other piece is almost all of the staffing changes, but increases are going to special education, particularly support both our programs in autism, and also, and then two things I should say. There's programmatic changes which are designed to strengthen all those programs, emotional behavior programs, autism programs. So we have two, sort of different levels of autism. Typically talk about higher functioning, lower functioning, but one's essentially separate, higher needs students, and one is, and I'll pause a moment. Okay, sorry. Yeah, let me answer the question. And then for higher functioning students, autism flex and inclusion, meaning it's substantially separate, but there's opportunities for students to be in each other classroom, and that varies quite a bit because there's such a huge range of students on the spectrum in terms of their needs, their abilities, their functioning, their capacities, and all sorts of stuff. We are, as I said, strengthening those programs with clearer program descriptions, clearer entry and exit criteria. And that's to benefit both our staff, but also families to understand what the intention of the programs are, especially when their students are eligible. We're increasing staffing for emotional behavioral programs and also emotional behavioral support at a mailing, a place where we've seen what we need, identified what we need, that sort of thing. So, and then the last piece would be just in terms of RBTs. We do have RBTs. As you know, you approved that as a new position just over a year ago. And since then we've hired 6 in the district. Plus, we also have RBTs that are contracted services. Next year, we are hoping to be we're not adding positions, but they're to come from contracted services on to become employees. Meaning, in the operating budget, we are now paying for, I think, 2 RVTs through contracted services. And we're hoping at least one of those will be paid through the operating budget, but being our employee, which is actually a more cost-effective way of doing it. I'm sure, Mike, sorry, if you want to add more to that, just in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, so the district is reinvesting in special education, that's clear. So I think what we heard with the concern is on really it's around program design. Is it meeting the students' population, with the population of students that we're serving? And so that's one of the things I did when I first got here. I took a look at the population, took a look at our programs, both vertically and horizontally. And I now know that we have to readjust our program design for our kids. So it's not that we have a personnel problem, it's that we have to have a design that fits the needs of our kids. So that's the underlying concern I heard with the expressed concern. And that's what we are charged with. And this is something that we're going to be doing annually. This is not going to be a fixed thing, a one-time thing. This is going to be something we're going to do annually in the way of what's our population telling us? How do we nuance programs?
One thing to add on that is just that, so our staff who are in the program, that's elementary because they had an early release day last week, I think it was, reviewed our draft program descriptions and entrance and exit criteria. That's for our programs for our students with autism on the autism spectrum and also behavioral programs. This is all elementary. And Dr. has that feedback now, and they'll continue to use that as he works with the staff to finalize those program descriptions in the coming months. The other piece was a question about outage transportation. So that's a combination of a couple of things. One, we thankfully had enough in the budget, had more than enough in the budget this year, okay, for outage transportation. And those increases we anticipate did not happen. Okay, it leveled off. Also, we were able to, through looking more closely at our routes and understanding, it's really 2 different things, I believe. Understanding our routes, we're able to consolidate some routes, so saving us cost this year, okay? And then also some initial reimbursement for some routes as well. Is that correct on reimbursement? Initial reimbursements for out of district routes?
Well, it really is, it changes each year based upon the students and where they're going to the out of district placements. Some of the out of district placements became residential. And so then there's no transportation costs. So it really fluctuates each and every year.
The other thing is, so because we had, so some of those dollars that we anticipated higher growth in special education transportation this year, because we did not use those dollars, we're using those for prepay for next year. That's one of the areas, one of the sources of our prepay for next year. And at this point, we don't anticipate, we had growth, very significant growth for 2 years in costs because the rates were going down. Rates have stabilized as well. So last year, while we anticipated higher rates, they didn't come through, and we don't anticipate higher, such a dramatic increase in rates as we had in the past few years. Yeah, right. Yeah,
Couple things. So I'm hearing and hearing the response too. So we didn't use all our money in out of district this year, but don't we still have 3 students that are waiting for placement that there was no place to go? Remember, we budgeted for it, but the openings didn't come for them, right? So is that why we had money left over, is my understanding? And we didn't have as many move-ins in the last part of the year as we.
All the pieces we're talking about. So
Yeah.
moving to a residential placement means there's no more transportation.
Yeah.
Not placing a few students as well as part of that. Rates not going up as we expected them to.
Yeah.
Those are all sort of contribute to it.
Right, so I don't want to make it look like we didn't spend our money, it's just we didn't have the ability to spend it because we didn't follow through with the placements. And we budgeted appropriately for higher increases because we expected them, and for some reason that didn't happen, which never happens.
Yeah, there's
But-
no hard and fast cap number on
Yeah, I just don't wanna give the impression that we're doing better, something better this year than we did the year before. We just budgeted better, knowing we had the higher increases from the year before. But I wanna go back to the word compliance, because that's, when I do budget, I wanna make sure we're in compliance with special education. And that's difficult. And I know there's a lot of families in Gloucester, just from reading and some feedback and conversations that, there are a lot of parents that don't feel we're in compliance. And I know, Dr. Jarvis, that's something you've been working on since you got here, and I commend you for that. I just want to make sure that this budget that we're putting forward gets us to compliance and gets families more comfortable. It's not gonna be 100%. Families always want the best, and I don't know that we can ever fully fund all the requests that come through IEPs. But compliance is very important to me when we do the budget, and that's something that I don't want to say the word assurance because that's more like a guarantee, but that we're getting there, that we are there. And I know we struggled hiring positions last year. Wasn't there 2 positions that we advertised and just didn't get? And that's why we have the contracted services,
I
right?
know, we always have some level of contract services, especially for related services, like speech and language, one good example. No, you're actually thinking of this year, of this school year.
Was it this
We've
year?
had difficulty hiring,
Okay.
program staff. And I think probably program staff and then also some paraprofessionals in programs as well, paraprofessionals. But I mean, Mike can talk about the challenge that we'll continue to face in our special education teachers, and that is you want to add to that?
Yeah, so actually, we're actually on, in a good way.
Okay.
So we still have a demand, we still have openings.
Yeah.
But we are filling some spots.
Okay.
So we're in a good place in that way. And so we have to continue to do outreach work to find applicants and the right people for these high level positions. Because when you say compliance, I'm hearing you say about your compliance against a budget, a proposed budget, stay within that. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Well, no, a little bit for more compliance with the special education requirements, right? That we're providing the needs to the best of our ability,
Yeah.
which comes with the budget, right?
So when I get you, yeah, so when I think about that, I don't think compliance, I go way beyond. I want to accelerate.
Okay.
I want to build programs so that they're robust and we accelerate learning for kids and not get the bare minimum for compliance.
Right.
Certainly compliance is that's the DESE kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to go way beyond that. This is about leveraging our staff in places where we can make the biggest difference for our kids, their range of kids. And that's through program design, whether it's the co-teaching model, or whether it's a program for high functioning autism, it's about program design. Using the staff we have, reallocating that staff and putting them in high leverage points to support kids. And that's really what I heard is not happening, and I agree, it's not happening to the degree that we need to, so the program design has to shift. Clinical aspects have to come through on that, so that takes a lot of collaboration.
Right.
And that's what we're building now to make this more of a robust experience for kids.
So even though the budget looks the same level service, it's
Right.
the way you're spending the
Exactly.
budget, that same amount of money is gonna be very different this year.
Exactly,
And that's what we're gonna build on going forward.
exactly right.
So there will be change without a financial
Right.
impact because it's more of a focus with the reallocations.
It's not level serve,
It's higher than level service. No, I know, but I mean
Yes.
level, there, I don't mean level server. I know we're getting 5% more.
Also, I want to talk about that, like that is also happens over time.
Right.
And Mike knows this, okay, but
Yeah.
just to be really clear about it, it's about supporting our staff with program design, but also product development, but also how they work together, and clarity, so they're in a better position to support our students better than we have. And that's really what Mike said, and that takes time, you know, again, you take steps year by year, over time, you help staff be in a better position to be more effective. And we're committed to that. We're committed to that for our staff, but especially for our students. And our staff are committed to that. You know, our staff are willing to do whatever it takes to support our students. We need to be able to create a budget and create program design with them that does that. That's not easy, but it really is essential in supporting our staff and our students.
Laura?
So I have two, I can't decide if
anyway, so what does it mean that we don't have to transfer people if they're in residential?
Because the student will be there
Oh, they're living, they're
overnight.
living there.
They're living there.
Thank you.
Those are typically students that we don't program for because the level of need is so
Right,
high.
no, I understand. I just didn't understand the.
Yeah,
Sure, so they're going from a place where they are being transported, yeah.
No, to a place where they live, but I get it. Second, I wanted to just sort of put in plain language, like the rates of transportation are going down because those are being set by leasing companies and other companies.
They're stabilizing,
Right,
they're
but
not increasing as quickly.
what I'm saying is those aren't coming from us. Those are coming
Oh,
from
right.
places where people they set rates that we don't have control.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been what we've been at the, you know,
Yes.
at the mercy of.
Yeah, just to let you know, we bid out our routes each and every year.
Right.
And so the routes changes as students make changes or we make changes to their placements.
Right,
So could be different routes than the previous year. But overall, we're getting, by bidding it out, we're getting the best
right.
rates.
No, right. No, I understand.
There's also just, there is a new development on that, which we'll share next week at BNF, okay? Is we've been working with, Northeast Consortium and other districts that are all members of Northeast Consortium to do more regional-based transportation bids and quotes and routes. So we're sort of, yeah, so that's gonna help us to some degree. We don't know yet to what impact in terms of the budget yet, but it is a potential, mostly they're consolidating routes. And also some better planning on routes as well. So that's a sort of first step, developing some regional transportations.
They're relying on the vendors to do that. We're taking control, public entities
It's
are
like the
taking control of
We're
that.
becoming.
So we're taking control of that, and then we can work with them to
Right,
find.
because we have
efficiencies. We're all right. No pun intended, there's a lot of moving parts in transportation,
I
right?
understand.
So there are kids that are coming on and off runs, so
Right.
it's.
No, I understand.
Are
And I
you
just-
saying,
Wait, can I
oh, sorry,
finish
I
for a
thought you were
second?
done.
And I just want to sort of come back to something Melissa said, but I think was really important, which that there is a perception, we have it in here, and that we are not in compliance with the basics, okay?
Okay.
And I understand and I share the desire to go well beyond that. But I think it's important as we talk about this budget to really know that and to sort of keep, our goal is to not only be in compliance, right? But to be beyond it, but that we are focused on every single one of these students and their needs. I mean, I think I'm just sort of pulling this back a little bit because I have heard similar things in the community and I really, it's hard, it's a hard job, it's hard business, right? But I think it's important to sort of, before we talk about how well we want to do, and we do, to really understand the concern that exists.
Yeah.
For everybody's kids. So I just want to really put a point on that.
No, I really appreciate that. So, in doing so, coming into the district since July, so I'm taking my samples, right? Listening to the community as best I can, as early on. I'll have a huge meeting for that in exchange, that I will, on the survey that will go out. I'm learning what the needs are and what we do well, what we don't do well. And so I made recommendations and the budget proposal is clear that there's a clear and present reinvestment in special education here. And so in concert with the reinvestment of special education to address the compliance, I'm also taking our time to build teams, clinical teams moving forward so that we are in compliance with student needs. We have a collaborative effort going in on, so we're teaming up our great professionals that we have here. And we're teaming up so that we can put them in high leverage places, so that we get to those compliance. And then we move into accelerating that learning for kids, right? We don't want just aim for compliance, but I hear the concern.
Yeah, we just want to be there.
And so that's what it's hard to do
overnight.
all of that overnight, right?
Yeah.
So I'm learning, right, for year one, you kind of learn, plan, and then you fit that into the budget, and then you make adjustments along the way. And I can predict that there are gonna be some adjustments that are gonna be along the way.
I think we should talk more about that as that happens going
Yeah.
forward.
Absolutely.
You know, like every couple of school committee meetings or something, like if you're recognizing something, keep us informed. Because we're the ones that speak to the public, we're the ones that hear it, they complain to us and we want to help and we have our limitations about, you know, crossing the line and being able to dictate what the schools do, you know, where that there's no gray area of managing the district, you know, we can only ask and so I think we need more information about this topic
It's all
on a
about building
regular
systems.
basis. Talk about it more, yeah.
It's all about building systems, it's all
Right.
about talking about it, so it's building systems rather than just one-off situations. Throwing staff, if you will, whether it's paraprofessionals, RPTs, or special education teachers, over here, over there, just chasing them the active way. It's building systems so that all the pieces understand how they work together, including general ed practitioners and special education practitioners and related services. How do they all work together, right? So that we're working effectively, and then second to that, efficiently. And that's what we're doing, that's what we're building here, and that's what will address those compliance issues with implementing the IEP, so.
Just to be clear, when we talk about systems, it's how people are working together. That's what a system is. Okay, and they know what's expected of them, they know what the goals are, they know what the purpose is, but that's all clear. And so they're handing off responsibility to each other, they're supporting each other, that sort of stuff. And they're human-based systems, but that rather than individuals all working just in a silo and trying to do the best they possibly can, and go really, really fast and work really hard, as opposed to relying on each person to do their specific job and do it well, in a sort of more of a team approach, a system team approach. But that's you know, that's the one way of explaining it, but really it's making sure that folks are doing their specific role really well, because to get, especially education, for example, the general education teacher role knows what their role is, support special education students. The special education teacher knows what their role is, support special education students. They're doing that together. Again, the inclusion of cohesion teaching model. The adjustment counselor knows what their role is to support a specific program. Okay, they're doing that well. They know how they need to work with the psychologist or the special education teacher or related services on supporting the teacher. That's student or students. And so having that clarity, having those responsibilities laid out very well and very clearly allows each person to do their job better, but also allows them to work together in a way that adds up to more than just individual work on their own. That's what we mean by systems. It's just that folks working together in a way that's really clear to them and clear to each other.
That's why I can't wait, right? I can't wait. We have to make steps. We can't do it all at once, right? It's gonna be incremental, but I can't wait. There's too much at stake.
How did the training go on the with the teachers?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Receptive?
Got some good feedback. Yeah. Participation.
And then also, we'll be, Mike and Pascal will be working with folks to understand how we do it better.
Yeah, I actually wrote down, as Melissa was speaking, program design, like, it sounded like a good idea to me to get kind of either through Ben or you coming to us directly, to kind of hear, hey, how's that working out, so an occasional update for us might be just a good way to put people at ease.
Global descriptions, of course, so we won't talk about individual students, but yes. but
Yeah.
they will-
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing we like to do is educate the committee on whether it's curriculum or social emotional mental health support of students. This is another place to help you understand the programs.
Yeah.
And hear what's working and what might not be working, or where the struggle is in implementation, because we can shift money around or find a city for more.
Yeah, just first comment and then I want to backtrack a little bit, but yeah, I really appreciate the approach you've taken where, we're taking this year by year, reevaluating and seeing what's working, what we need to do to move forward and move that ball forward. So I want to say I appreciate that perspective. And about the the transportation, out of district transportation, are you saying that we're looking for a way to collaborate with, inter-district, transportation?
Yeah, so the Northeast Consortium.
Yeah.
Which is one of our collaboratives and we work with to provide special education. They run a number of schools. And there are collaboratives, sort of intercollaboratives around the state. But they are working together to see how they can provide better service and supports to their member districts, including us. And one of those that the superintendents and special education directors talked about needing was, can we be more efficient and they're more cost effective on routing and transportation and contracting with all the various providers, okay? So we were working with them, first me and then some degree and also then Gary on the finance side, on the number side, to see if we can launch that, and we will share that more detail with BNF next week about going into a contract with them, support a regional approach.
So are you saying, contracting, so what I wanna get,
So instead of each individual district.
Yeah.
Contracting separately.
sure, okay,
With a provider or various providers.
yes,
NEC, the Northeast Consortium will organize that. Okay, working with our transportation directors in order to, get, better rates or fewer routes, through economies of scale.
with a larger contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will just add that by sharing the route
Yeah.
with multiple districts, then the cost is split between the different districts.
Yeah, that's one,
So-
yeah,
And that's where you're gonna see some savings.
Yeah.
But we wanna not be overly optimistic. We wanna just see how the first year goes. But we're gonna explain much more at the BNF meeting.
how many contractors are there that do this type of service?
We have about 10
Yeah.
right now. And that's, NEC is working with, bid out just one. To really consolidate
Sure.
and try to get as much sharing of the route between the districts.
So we as a school system contract with 10 independent contractors?
We have about 10.
Yeah, well, what I'm wondering as far as putting out the bids is what is that pool that we have people think, come in bid?
Way more than 10.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I just wanna get an idea like what are.
Because there's a pretty low barrier to entry into service, its area. So there are a lot of smaller places and not too many really big places. You see much bigger companies when you're talking about the yellow school buses.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are, and then there are national ones obviously on that. But these are local, they're often local companies, not even regional places, they're very local.
Yeah.
Honestly, so might just statewide. So, yeah, there's quite a few, very safe. We'll do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yep, sure.
So before we move on to the budget, it should have been under recognitions earlier. I want to recognize Cody and Gary and Saskia and all that's going on in that office right now because they're short-staffed with mothers being out. And the amount of work that's coming out of there and the efficiency of the work that's coming out is very impressive. So I didn't want this night to go by without recognizing how
Yeah.
well performed that office is right now.
Yeah,
Being
it's,
short-staffed with a couple of our employees out.
yeah, Cody and Saskia are doing double duty.
Yeah.
And then
So I'm really,
Much
really
appreciation.
appreciative of they're going above and beyond.
Yeah,
So thank
I
you.
know there's a
for-
lot of pressure in there, so.
also, in addition, so thank you to Cody and Saskia and Gary, as you said, really Cody and Saskia, but also want to appreciate and thank Rosalie for our
And Rosalie for
Yes.
coming back
Come back.
from retirement.
Thank you.
retirement, and she's, as she always does, is doing a bang up job.
Becky too, I think, Becky too.
Thank you, yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's great to have Rosalie in the office again. She's just a calming influence and so confident, and it's like.
We wouldn't get through this budget season this year if everyone didn't do extra,
Right.
so much appreciation.
Thank you.
And the new mother's doing very well too.
Yes, they are.
They're where they exactly should be.
Okay, thank you for that. Subcommittee reports. I don't believe we have any at this stage of the game. But we do have some action items. So the first one on the list was to adopt the revised school choice policy, the ACA. Can you maybe?
Well, then you want,
Yeah, I can summarize it, someone has a copy of it.
I don't know, is it in our packet?
Yes, it is. You have printouts with you. Is there a packet that you have printouts with you?
I don't know.
Yeah, we have.
You might not have got.
I didn't get one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's mine.
That's my copy, but you can use
Here,
it, but I have
thank
a
you.
question on that.
Oh, why don't I start? And then you- So, to remind everyone, this was the policy, where initially we wanted to be clear about, if we had decided that if a senior moved out of Gloucester after January 31st, that there would be an opportunity potentially upon the superintendent's, decision for them to stay and graduate in Gloucester. So that was initially what was being moved here, that was coming out of the inter-district school choice. So I want to put that there. Then at our meeting to discuss that and vote on that, the issue came up of what if a family has a disaster, as has recently happened, and their home is uninhabitable and they must temporarily move out of Gloucester, what provisions could be made for those families? Okay, so this is what the language is intended to clarify. So why don't I read aloud the new portion?
Yeah, I can also show it too.
Oh, that'd be great. So I'm not gonna read the part about the seniors, because we have already agreed on that. But we have not yet voted. Number 7, the family of an enrolled student whose family must temporarily move out of Gloucester because their Gloucester residence is deemed, I would take out the word, temporarily uninhabitable and unsafe to live in due to damage caused by a natural disaster or other emergency situation, may petition the superintendent to allow the student or students to continue enrollment in the schools while they find new housing in Gloucester or enroll in a new school district. The superintendent may require information such as police, fire, or building inspection reports as evidence of it, that the residence has been damaged and is unlikely. Temporary extension of enrollment for these purposes may not last more than 6 months. The superintendent's decision is final. Nothing in this paragraph is meant to counteract or supersede the federal McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Assistance Act.
The next online part was there last time as well.
Okay, then it withdraws because they're no longer living for, they can apply for interdistrict school choice for the next upcoming year.
So what I was trying to accomplish here is a couple things. Provide language that supported the community's concern about temporary vulnerable situations through an emergency situation. Okay, so that we use fire as an example, flood is another one, natural disaster. Okay, this is different than our families face many different circumstances that force them to change living situations or move out of the city. Okay, we do need to be very conscious of and careful of families that have moved out but continue to enroll. Okay, and there are situations in Gloucester and all communities like this. Okay, and that's a very difficult situation to be in. That we're put in more times a year. And we are required to tell those families to enroll in the district that they're not in. So we want to sort of try this balance between situations that are temporary and that like these can be, and ones that because of let's use the word disaster. It's hard to kind of sort of characterize it. That as temporarily made a situation unlivable, but and because of that they moved out of the district or moved to if they're in a elementary student moved into a different school zone. Okay, but we do need to make these temporary because if it's longer lasting, then it's right and appropriate and legal for folks to
by law, need to enroll people where they move to. So just that's the intent of the language super important. Is to recognize something that can be very difficult for families, but also try to balance that with the requirements of the law for folks to be enrolled. Awesome.
6 months. I'd like to make offer an amendment to that amount of time, and simply because fire happens in October, 6 months later, they have to leave in the middle of the school year. I understand how 6 months can be beneficial if there's less than 6 months less in the school year, but I would like the student to have the opportunity to complete the school year. So it might be 8 months or 9 months, depending on when the natural disaster happens. I think there should be language in there that allows a student to stay through that school year and then become a school choice student if they want to
Want me
not come
to,
back.
you know, we're not really in discussion part, the motion has been made, and you're not discussing what just among the
Yeah.
communities, if you want me to respond to that?
I mean, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a motion to talk.
No,
Yeah.
no, usually when.
You made an amendment, you said it.
When we have, no,
Not an
what I'm
amendment, not
saying
an
is,
amendment to the motion, an amendment to what.
typically, once a
forward.
motion's made and you're discussing it, I step back and you discuss it
Yeah,
yourself, but I don't think we're there.
No, I want to hear from
Yeah, like, okay,
you on.
it's
I mean,
hard.
maybe of an evaluation.
Yeah, I put that in there, you know, on purpose, and the reason for putting it in there is at what point, if you're moved out of the district, does it become, you should enroll in that district? I just think it's an important question to consider, you know, because at this point, it's actually better for the student to be going to school where they're living. Okay, so again, 6 months isn't a magic number, but that's the consideration, that's what I was thinking about putting it there.
No, I agree.
Was, you know, should at that point the family consider or be required to make that investment in where they are?
Right.
Because how long is?
But what if they don't want to stay? So I'm thinking of the natural disaster only, right?
Yeah.
That family, fire, flood, something happens in Gloucester, I deal with evictions all the time, and there's a lot of housing that goes bad, right? They have to find a new home. Very difficult to find apartments in Gloucester. They moved to Rockport, Essex temporarily with the intention of coming back to Gloucester to find an apartment.
No, I'm sorry,
So,
this is very
For
clear,
that
this is not
situation.
evictions.
No, I know, I
Okay,
mean.
but you said the word. you said
Well, I mean
happen all the
evictions
time.
because people are out because their houses are inhabitable. So to me, that's falls under emergency. It's not happening where it's gonna impact ours. This policy, talking about a situation where they're forced to move out. Not because of non-payment of rent, not because of any other reason, but their house is inhabitable. And they can't find an apartment in Gloucester, so they're temporarily living somewhere else. I think the student should be able to finish the school year.
I
And
think,
their intention to come back to Gloucester.
sorry, if you say uninhabitable. Okay.
Due to a natural disaster.
Okay, I'll be clear, because we
Yeah.
gotta be crystal clear, because there are lots of reasons when folks are evicted or a dwelling becomes uninhabitable.
I'm not saying add evictions to this
No, I know,
language.
but also there's other reasons that a dwelling becomes uninhabitable. Okay, and not because of a natural disaster or say a fire. I don't think what the committee was saying, I didn't say it was for the myriad purposes, myriad reasons rather, that the housing becomes uninhabitable. That's can be very broad. And I don't, and so as long as the committee, you know, this is trying to narrow it to these circumstances, which are sort of emergency situations.
So if the apartment was deemed unexpectedly to be filled with mold and it was making their tenants sick and they have to move out, forced to move out because they can't live there, have to find an apartment with the intention of staying in Gloucester. I'm just saying that school year, not 6 months.
But that's, I don't necessarily disagree with you, I'm just saying that that would be a rewriting of this to incorporate that.
Not necessarily, because it says,
I mean, this is natural disaster type stuff.
So
Well-
what I didn't, a fire is not a natural disaster.
no,
This
Right.
came about because we're trying to support, as a specific example here, okay? And that's an example of fire happens, you know, not frequent, it was not infrequent, okay? So, but I don't know how to say or fire, I can say or fire.
it comes out of emergency situation.
So what I'm saying is, emergency situation was the best thing I come up with is to cover fire. Okay, but emergency situation may be too broad. Okay, If we're interpreting it to be mold and other things, that's too broad, honestly. Because then it can be so many things, and it becomes very difficult for us to manage it. Broader it becomes.
I don't think it happens enough, that's gonna be a problem.
I don't know, I don't know how often it happens. I have what I'm feeling is like, I totally understand what you're saying. And have compassion for that. And I'm trying to figure out the line, right? The line between. I mean, I don't know what the law is on this, but it feels like it is true. Unfortunately, people have to leave homes for all sorts of reasons. I'm sure that happens in every place, in every municipality, right? There's emergencies, there's disasters, I mean, and I don't know how we parse that. And I also understand the desire to keep kids able to go to their schools. It may be that they can't even get it, right? Because they're no longer, I'm just trying to, I know what you're saying by the months.
9 months, 6 to 9.
But I want to understand from you, Ben, it just feels like, there's sort of a balance that we have to reach here that we're not reaching yet.
I think there's the situation that the committee will expire, okay? Maybe I should just put that in and left it that, okay? I certainly can, okay, we certainly can, okay? It's something that's out of the sort of landlord, control, out of the control of the landlord, owner of the property. Owner of the property, I should say, because there are people owning or they're renting, right? So outside of control of the owner of the property. Something like cleanliness, is not out of control, okay?
I wouldn't say that you would use this for cleanliness.
Well, but. What I always ask for a policy is clarity. Because if you don't have clarity or things too broad, it becomes a case by case basis, which is very, very hard to interpret, both by community members and families, but also by us in following through equitably and fairly. And that's what's always most important. Because access, privilege, wealth will always be able to apply pressure in a way that favors folks. And I'm not interested in acting.
But I would argue this is the opposite. So this is the non-wealth. This is the family that's struggling and they come to an emergency situation and they just want their child to have an uninterrupted school year and finish the school year out. So that's why I say it's more than 6 months, right? If you put 9 months there, that covers the emergency situation that happens in September to get them through the end of the year. I wouldn't say that 9 months starts the next school year and that the language would have to reflect that, right? End of that school year.
But it could happen to an affluent family,
Right, you're
Right,
making an
good,
assumption, you're making an assumption.
No, but I'm just saying it may not. So when you're saying that you can be influenced by that.
The ambiguity leads to a inequitable approach.
So my
And so-
approach
so what-
to this is only to have the student in for the school year, no matter who or what they are, right? At the 6 months means they can stay only for 6 months. It may not, they'll miss out 3 months out of the year, depending on when the activity happens. So my priority is to keep the child in the school for the school year. That's what I want to see out of
Can I
it. This isn't a big cost benefit to us.
It's not a cost issue. I think the hypothetical here, I just want to put this out, right? We both know the situation we're talking about. I pass it every single day. And it's a tragedy. Thank goodness no one's hurt, but, what if this happens, God forbid it happens in September, happens in October, family has to leave. Like they don't find, I know how hard it is to find things in Gloucester. They can't find a place. So what we're doing, in essence, we are allowing them to remain uninterrupted in Gloucester, which I do agree is, I agree is a benefit. But this this whole family now is displaced. Just think about it. I mean, I'm saying it could go both ways. Trying to get their kid to a school that's not near where they live. And this kid is also now not settling into a new place and they don't get
But they have, so you're giving the parent the choice. I'm all about parents' rights. The parent has a choice. The parent can choose, say it was Rockport, say they moved to Rockport. They can decide, okay, I'm gonna keep my child, my student in their neighborhood now and enroll them in Rockport, and it's not a problem. But if the parent chooses, I want my child I wanna live in Gloucester, I like the Gloucester schools, I want this time period of this school year to not worry about my child meeting new friends or going into a new classroom and all the anxiety and issues that can come with that. I want the parent to have their choice. They very well may say, I want to enroll in the district that I'm in now, living in, but they might want to keep that stability for a child that just has been disrupted at no ask of their own. And just know that they have the opportunity to stay in that district for that school year, not into the next year, just that school year, whatever the month time
Wouldn't you
is.
agree that we need a broader policy, like just
Not broader, I think it's more defined in what the emergency situation is.
Can I just suggest changing the language to say condemned residents from natural disaster or other conditions to be deemed, by the superintendent to be applicable?
But he's not, we don't wanna I mean, I wouldn't wanna put the superintendent, he's not a building inspector.
Well, he's
Like,
asking
Yeah,
for
but
building
other
inspector
people are.
information.
To condemn a building means you can't live in it because of unforeseen situations.
Right, I don't know if condemnation is a stage in the process, I suspect it is,
Mhm.
right, in a building process? That's
Um,
probably a specific legal
Maybe
space,
Melissa, may know.
right, to be
Well,
condemned.
the building inspector, he'll come down in 5 minutes.
I actually
10
had this
minutes later.
happen to me, not supposed to speak, but had this happen to me last year. And I had, my house got destroyed.
I know, can't,
Okay,
we're just
sorry.
not allowed to have comments.
Okay, sorry.
You're welcome to reach out to them and.
Okay,
let them
yeah,
know.
I'll do that after.
And that, yeah.
Maybe we should define some natural disasters and stick with them, like 4 of them, right?
I
Fire,
was hoping to.
Flood.
Which is not an,
right, fire, flood.
right, well, then yeah, I think we need more work, obviously,
Be specific, just specific circumstances where this would apply.
I don't know if you have to get specific, and that might end up being like alienating certain situations. That's why I was saying condemn.
Well, there's a lot of apartments in Gloucester that
I mean,
can be
just to
condemned, just to be condemned, and that's
include
not.
condemn.
we need to table this again.
I think we need to table it and send
Is
it
it
back
gonna
to
be-
programs.
Maybe it needs to go back to.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
Again,
Send back the program.
You just said 9 months there.
Okay, we got a couple more action items, acceptance of grants. First one is the J.S. Lynn Foundation private grant for math and science prizes for $4,000.
are you so moved?
So move, yeah.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the second, to authorize up to $3,000 to carry forward funds from O'Malley student activities DC trip account to be used for other local field trip expenses for the 8th graders who are not participating in the DC trip. I so move.
Can we get information on that?
Yeah, so there's also a request from Mike Tice in your packet, and that was me. So, and then Tori went out, there's dollars in the O'Malley student activities account to suit the DC trip accounts, specific student activities account. The DC trip, okay? That has, has a excess at the end of the year, typically some, okay? They carry over some dollars here. Every year, a number of students do not go on the DC trip, either because their families choose not to, or they choose not to, or the school decides they shouldn't go, okay? And so what the staff and school leadership at O'Malley wants to do is be able to provide some local field trips for those students, while the other students who aren't going on the trip, on the DC trip, while the other kids are in DC. They want to use the funds from the DC trip as part of that, okay, to support those students. But we wanted to have the school be authorized that, use, basically. Right?
Yeah, because of the activity being so specific to DC trips, but it's an eighth grade trip. These are other local eighth grade trips. We had a carry forward balance of over 6,000, so we're just asking to be able to use up to 3,000 for other local trips for the remaining eighth graders.
So those students can benefit as well. You don't think it'll be that much, we just want to make sure that there's enough of that.
Can I ask, why are we carrying a balance forward? I thought it gave actual amount for the trip. How are we having a balance?
Will they also raise funds as well?
So there's been no request for refunds denied or anything, and we have money, and this is just extra money that's.
That's right.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
and sometimes the
So if a student is told they can't go to DC for some reason, they get refunded if they had paid already?
If they purchased insurance. We don't refund them, that's not part of what this use is for.
But we don't have that money to refund them, right?
I see what,
So I'm just trying to find out where is this money coming from, right? And are there parents out there that paid and didn't get refunded because their students couldn't go to DC? So I'm just trying to understand what
I
this
don't,
pot of money is.
I don't know, but we don't raise money for those purposes.
If
we
each
don't-
child that goes to DC has to pay, or most of them do, right? So a parent pays, say $500, right?
So this money is surplus, so to speak, because they raise more dollars
Okay.
and students need.
All I need, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it wasn't, we were keeping the parents'
No.
money because their student was the brat and couldn't go.
No.
no, there have been instances where we refund for certain activities, but it's obviously with legitimate reason and backup documentation, and principals normally request it.
Okay.
We have an outstanding one right now for one of the Project Adventure fifth grade.
Yeah.
Because someone broke their arm, so it's
Alright.
those normally come in, they don't like get pushed off or held away or anything.
No, I support this. I just wanted to make sure that the money was. Thank you.
So we're looking for a second.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion, other or communications or new business?
I just want to bring something up,
Yep.
if I may.
You bet.
So last year, probably around this time, because I think it happened after the vocational presentation that we went to the other night, we had referred to policy, a request to develop a policy that allows, I think particularly the auto shop, to add a percentage onto their parts or something that would generate some revenue for that department. Essex Tech does it. So there's a policy out there that has some good practice to it. It's my understanding other vocational schools do it as well. But it's a way for a department to raise revenue, for all the good work and good service they're doing in the community. Fixing cars at no cost at this point, home parts only. I think they wanted to be able to purchase the parts too.
yeah,
So it's.
So it allows the auto shop as an example.
Right. They're
Which they do charge.
they charge for, they do
Parts, not
parts
labor.
only,
it's no
Yeah,
labor.
right,
no labor.
right, no labor, right.
But this allows them to add, say, a 10% something, and they can generate a little bit of revenue, not a lot.
And the revenue is used for,
The auto shop itself, like to buy tools or put it right back into their,
and we talked about creating a policy last year on it.
we refer it to
And
program,
then,
with a lot of other things.
yeah, it didn't go anywhere, yeah, it's been a year,
Right.
Yeah, I think it's been exactly a year. I
right.
think it was right after
I'm saying
the,
it's been quite a year.
yeah, oh, it's been.
Yeah, okay, we can go back to that.
Okay, anything else? Any other new business? We are going to go into executive session. And I believe I have to read these.
Yes.
These two, A and B. Now, we're gonna go into executive session pursuant of executive session purpose 2 of MGL 30A and 21A to discuss strategy and or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Purpose 3 of MGL 30A and 21A to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Gloucester AFSCME Clerical Unit A, Gate and the Gloucester Teachers Association. All in favor?
Oh, we have to do roll call.
You know what, you should probably read the second one too.
Read the second one as well. Okay, and B, to enter executive session pursuant to executive session purpose 3 of MGL 30A, 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If any open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of a public body, and the chair so declares, to discuss the strategy with respect to the Commonwealth Employment Relations Board et al. Versus Gloucester Teachers Association et al. Essex Superior Court number 2477 CV 0071. 0117.
Just the document.
Sorry. Second?
Yes.
Yep, do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Minio,
Yes.
Ms. Prince,
Yes.
Mr. Galvin,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Okay, so we shall go into executive session and only come back to those to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for those who joined us tonight.